couples. What can we do for couples who are living in partnership, who have never been married? Can they receive Holy Communion? What can we do for them? Yes, we can tell them to go to confession, confess their sins because they're living in sin, and then the priest will ask them, are they living with anybody? And if they say yes, the priest has to say to them, because you're in this situation, I cannot absolve you until you leave this situation, get out of this occasion of sin, and you come back to me, having told me that you're now separated from your partner, and you're living away from him, and you're sorry for your sins. Then the priest can give you absolution for your sin. In the same way with divorced and remarried couples. If a divorced and remarried couple wants to be admitted into communion, they have to first get rid of their sin in confession, and then the priest will tell them they must separate from their alleged spouse in their remarriage. And if that cannot be, because of age, maybe they're very old, they've been together for so many years, and maybe the raising of children, then they have to live in continence. They have to live as brother and sister. And the woman or the man must promise that to the priest. They're sorry for their sin. They partook of the forbidden fruit. They married when they were not able to marry because they had been divorced. It was not annulled. It was a divorce. And they remarried. But their first marriage was already marriage, and they had no right to marriage, as you know. When God has joined together, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. No man can break up a valid and consummated marriage. Cannot. Of course, the church can vote with the tribunal whether the marriage in the first place was a valid marriage, then it can be annulled. But this is the case for those people who just remarried without the benefit of an annulment, and the only thing they can do is either separate or live as brother and sister, because they have violated the love of God for his church. They have violated sacred marriage, matrimony. As you know, Christ loved his church and sacrificed himself for the church. So we are the brides of Christ. So if we partake of forbidden fruit, marrying when we're not supposed to marry, we have broken that bondage, and that needs to be forgiven. And the only way it can be forgiven, as I said, for a divorced and remarried person is if they separate, or, if that's not possible, if they promise to live as brother and sister, which is not an impossibility. I've had several people come to me over the years, and they've understood the situation, and they realized that they're not allowed to partake of the conjugal relations in marriage because they're not married. That's forbidden fruit. That's living in sin, the same way the woman or the man who live as partners are living in sin. They're partaking of the fruit of marriage, even though they're not married, and they're living in sin. And that's why we're in such a chaos today in our world. So many people not marrying when they should marry, when they can marry, getting the benefit